This video is sponsored by Teknova, making you feel safer in your own household. From a simple scary image competition, Slenderman has certainly come a long way, even if it's not the way he may have wanted to go. Ever since the game Slender the 8 Pages put a spotlight on the creature, what was once considered a nightmare to many has now become a laughingstock. But what made the creature so terrifying for people to begin with? And where did it all go wrong? Since the new movie is set to release this year, I decided to dive into the history of the Slenderman, take a look into the rise and what I believe to be the fall of this strange internet phenomenon. To begin our story, we need to go all the way back to 2009 when the Something Awful forums created a thread for showcasing strange photos in the hopes they would spread across the internet. Creating paranormal images has been a hobby of mine for quite some time. Occasionally, I stumble upon odd websites showcasing strange photos, and I always wondered if it were possible to get one of my own chops in a book, documentary, or website just by casually leaking it out into the web, whether they be supplements to bogus stories or not. Many people created their own images, followed with a little bit of information surrounding each of their creations. But one of them, on June 10th, 2009 to be exact, stood out from the rest. 2 photos were posted, one with a group of kids with what looked like a strange man guiding them somewhere, and the other in a playground. But in the corner appeared a strange man again, surrounded by children with some kind of appendages coming out of his back. Description was followed. One of the 2 recovered photographs from the Sterling City Library blaze, notable for being taken the day which 14 children vanished and for what is referred to as the Slenderman. Deformity cited as film defects by officials. Fire at library occurred 1 week later. Actual photograph confiscated as evidence. 1986, photographer Mary Thomas. Missing since June 13th. 1986. Eric Knudsen, or Victor Surge as his username, had just created an internet sensation. And even though he followed up with even more pictures of what he was calling the Slenderman, these 2 were the ones that stood out in the back of people's minds. The images kept Slenderman in the distance as if it was something the photographer hadn't seen while taking the photos. In the same year, a web series known as Marble Hornets was created based off of the Slenderman creature. It was clearly inspired by Slenderman, but they also wanted it to be their own interpretation of the creature, so they gave it the name of the operator and started to add their own lore. The series did really well and spawned other shows to follow in Marble Hornets' footsteps, each one creating their own versions of the Slenderman. And then the documentary started to crop up. Featuring clips of Marble Hornets and other web series while also using the original images and descriptions from Eric's post. Slenderman became that creepy thing in a video your friend sent you at night, or you just stumbled upon it yourself. I specifically bring up Marble Hornets in this video out of all others because they inspired the game that threw Slenderman into the mainstream, Slender the 8 Pages. A lot of what you see in that game you'll actually find in Marble Hornets. The pages, the tunnel, that big red thing, it played a big part in the rise of Slenderman. However, even with all this success, the Slenderman character arguably became a shell of its former self. After the game, the internet did what it does best and started making memes, joke posts, and all other kinds of things about the Slenderman. In effect, making this creature seem less terrifying than it originally appeared, leading myself and many others to question what was it that made Slenderman so scary in the first place? Well, it's plain and simple. The fear of the unknown. Humans are terrified of things they can't explain. The less you know about something, the more terrifying it becomes when you have to confront it. It's why people can be afraid of the dark, anxious at a job interview, or even heading off into an exam. It's not the situation alone that makes you uneasy, it's the fear of what might happen. You're unprepared for it. There's more likely a chance things will go wrong. And that's what made Slenderman so appealing in its first few years. Before the game in 2012, we didn't know much about it. Searching his name on the internet, you'd be lucky to find more than these 4 images of him. Even Marble Hornets, the web series, was rather hard to find for anyone who wasn't aware of it. Whereas if you search Slenderman now, you'll find several games, web series, documentaries, fan arts, creepypastas that expands upon his lore. We pretty much know everything there is to know in one Google search. He even has a very detailed Know Your Meme page talking about his history and his abilities. And this is the problem with Slenderman right now. We know too much about him to be afraid. We've become so familiar with the name and the character that it just doesn't have the same effect. So, does that mean that the Sony movie is going to be bad? Not necessarily. To me, the only way you could make a scary movie work with the Slenderman creature is if you strip away its identity. The biggest mistake Sony Pictures made, for me at least, is titling the movie Slenderman. The name just has too much attached to it for anyone to take it seriously. And before you say Sony might not want you to take this seriously, they clearly do by the trailer. They very clearly want you to be afraid of this creature. They want you to sleep with one eye open in the night. But what Sony wasn't counting on was your highly advanced home security installed by Teknova, making you feel more safer than you ever felt before. Their state-of-the-art cameras keep an eye on your home and protect you and your family in your darkest times. They can detect when someone is breaking into your home and automatically notifies your phone while also contacting the police. I love this company so much. I've even bought several of their 360p cameras just for my basement. One of my very favorites is the new SJW7500. It captures everything. You'll never feel in danger ever again from creatures like the Slenderman. You can order now on their website too by using the promo code BerryJustBerry and get 50% off of your next purchase. Teknova will help you start taking back control. You could say they're taking over your life.